Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's May 26th, 2016. We have passed the date we were paying attention to, May 23rd. I said back in February, May 23rd, a lot of special numerology for that date. I expect a big news story, potentially the assassination of a major political figure, such as someone running for president or even possibly the 44th president himself. If you're new to my channel, I have explained and documented how every president who has died in office has died with connections to the number 44 and 144. This year, May 23rd, was the 144th day of the year. It was a date with 44 numerology, and on top of that, it had a bunch of news stories foreshadowing the date. The big news ended up being Obama traveling to Vietnam. I have a video on that, the significance of that trip, how it was by the numbers. He went to Ho Chi Minh City, having gematria of 144. That's the city that was once called Saigon. When it fell, it took on the new name of the communist leader when the United States lost the Vietnam War. Really a war that everyone lost at. But anyhow, May 23rd is past, and like I said back in February, if the tragedy doesn't come that day that seems to be foreshadowed, it will come a date later with the similar connections through numbers. And the date I am now looking at is August 22nd, 2016, a month after the Republican convention. There are other curious dates before that, but this news story right here is a major parallel to August 22nd, a date I've been looking at since May 23rd passed. So let me show you what I'm seeing, and you can be the judge yourself. Oh, shoot. Got to do this too. All right, so here's where it's at. Clinched, a very special word they've used here, a very relevant word. The date of this news is May 26th, 2016, a date with numerology of 47. The word president in gematria equals 47, special number, obey 47, authority 47, mafia. Today's also a date with 67 numerology. The word Freemasonry equals 67. It is Freemasons that have established this nation and run it ever since. 67 is also associated with ritual sacrifice. Blood sacrifice has gematria of 67, a number that shows up in death in a lot of ways. This past February, I also said Prince, the musician, better watch his ass because he had lots of parallels with Vanity, the pop star who died just before the Grammys. And in that video, I talked about how his June 7th birthday, a lot like 67, was one of the things that made Prince, worthy of sacrifice in terms of how these Masons operate who kill by the numbers, like the Police song from 1983 off the album Synchronicity. Anyhow, Prince would go on to die 67 days after Vanity. On a very specific date, I have a lot of videos on it. But the point is, these numbers, they are real. They show up again in the deaths of celebrities. Go back and watch my video on Vanity from February. Watch the video on Prince. And watch all the other videos I've done on celebrity deaths this past year. The same numbers over and over. Many people who have died according to this number 67. So today's date numerology, 67. George Washington, the first president of the United States, died at age 67. He was a 33rd degree Freemason. George Washington in gematria equals 88. Uncle Sam equals 88. Trump, as in Donald Trump, equals 88. From today, May 26th, until August 22nd, the date we're going to get to, is 88 days from today. The headline reads, clinched. Just a single word. The article is that he has now secured enough delegates to be the Republican nominee officially. Clinched has gematria of 58 and 40. United States in gematria sums to 40 and 58. Freemasonry sums to 58 and 67. Donald Trump getting Masonic headlines all year. The United States is a Masonically run nation. So here's the date span from today until the election day. I want you to notice that it's 166 days or 23 weeks and 5 days. And this is one of the number sequences we were looking at earlier this year. 23/5 is a way to write May 23rd. 235, it could also be the 235th day of the year, which is August 22nd. We're still getting to that. 166, it has a lot of special number connections. The White House is one of them. The White House equals 166. This number has a lot of connections to the tragedy on September 11th. Interesting that from today until the November 8th election is 166 days. So, again, from today until August 22nd is 88 days. The word Trump equals 88. August 22nd is the 235th day of the year. From this card game, Illuminati, this number sequence is on the license plate, 235. Before I was explaining how that could connect to May 23rd, but again, there's some flex in this study. The 235th day of the year also fits into the picture. The word number 666, it has a lot of different meanings. The word prophecy in Jewish gematria equals 666. This number is used often in this way in the coding of stories to come. This could be saying prophecy with a connection to 235, and we'll talk about why August 22nd fits the picture. So August 22nd. See if I can make this bigger for you. Notice it's typically the 234th day of the year. 2016 is a leap year, so it's the 235th day. What's interesting about the number 234 is if you add its reflection, 432, 234 plus 432 equals 666. And we were just seeing how on that license plate, it had the number 235 followed by 666. August 22nd can also be written 22/8. United States of America equals 228. In English gematria, the word death also equals 228. I have an older video months ago called Death to America, and I show how these numbers are coded into stories. Death in the United States. The name Martin Luther King Jr. equals 228, the only American to have a holiday named after him. Person born in America. Think about how 228 is the end of Black History Month. Martin Luther King Jr. had the holiday made in remembrance of his assassination. From August 22nd until November 8th, the election is 79 days. The word murder equals 79. Also, that November 8th election, 11/8, death in Jewish gematria is 118. Lincoln was reelected November 8th, assassinated in Ford's Theater by the numbers. Also on May 23rd, I want to bring up that Obama was in Vietnam. The Vietnam War started with the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was a complete hoax. It supposedly happened on August 2nd and August 4th. Gulf of Tonkin incident, 228, like United States of America. Vietnam equals 84. United States of America, the small way, equals 84. Vietnam, home of the plus 84 dialing code. Obama in Jewish gematria equals 84. His birthday's August 4th, 84. He just ended an embargo against Vietnam since 1984 on May 23rd. The 144th day of the year. He's the 44th president. When you write out 44 as a word, it sums to 144. So, a little twist here. Huey P. Newton. I was looking for some relevant August 22nd posts in my past research, and a major light bulb went off in my head when I saw that Huey P. Newton died on August 22nd. Last year, in October, I predicted that the Broncos would be in the Super Bowl because of this weird story out of Los Angeles where supposedly somebody got in a car wreck, died, and their body flew out of their car and landed on a freeway sign, Colorado Street. The story was a complete hoax. It had a lot of death coding in it. It had parallels with the NFL. From that story, I predicted the Broncos would win the Super Bowl, as crazy as that sounds. And a lot of people said it was insane because Manning was old and washed up, which I completely agree with. But I said, just watch, you guys, it's all scripted. After that, I was putting the pieces together, and I made more discoveries. I figured out how significant 58 was to the upcoming Super Bowl at the time. From making that discovery, I decided that the Super Bowl would be Broncos defeating the Carolina Panthers. I decided that Von Miller would win the MVP, and I decided there would be a Black Panther tribute at halftime. And all of those things came true. I predicted all of them before the game was played, before the matchup was even set. There's a lot of information to it, but this is what I want you to know besides Huey P. Newton dying on this date, August 22nd, that we're looking at. Let's see, where do I have it written at? First, I got to show you. Here we go. Huey P. Newton established the Black Panthers in Oakland. Oakland equals 58. We talked about that number with clinched. Freemasonry equals 58. United States equals 58. Huey P. Newton, the founder of the Black Panther Party, who set it up in Oakland, equals 58. Again, Freemasonry equals 58. This past Super Bowl, Cam Newton became the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl that was played not far from Oakland. The symbol is a Black Panther on his helmet, and by blood, he is related to Huey P. Newton. Here's where it gets even trippier, what I've realized since doing that. There are 14 presidents before George Washington that don't go in our history books. Obama's the 44th president. 44 plus 14 equals 58. Obama, if you count this way, is the 58th president. And he has a lot of connections to Lincoln. Lincoln was murdered in Ford's Theater by an actor, supposedly. Ford's Theater has gematria of 58. Obama reopened Ford's Theater when he first became president. He did it on February 11th, the 42nd day of the year, George Washington's original birthday. It's always killing by the numbers. Huey P. Newton dropped dead in 89 on August 2nd, just after the new Black Panther Party had been established in 89. New Black Panther Party equals 89. Black Panther Party alone equals 74, like Masonic. Freemason controlled opposition. Did a recent video on the death of Tupac's mom. She was a Black Panther. How her death, Tupac's death, and the real Machiavelli's death sync. Also in recent headlines, this was just before May 23rd, when I'd been telling people to look at this date since February. All of a sudden, the Washington Post puts this out, 523-year-old letter of Christopher Columbus. The name Columbus equals 106, Christopher 139, Freemasonry, the big way 139, Prophecy 106, Freemasonry prophecy. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. These headlines, they are planned years in advance. The Freemasons are fulfilling an agenda and calling it prophecy. And this is what we experience as news. Christopher Columbus, sent over by the Vatican. Jewish, Roman Catholicism 74, Masonic 74, Jewish. Excuse me, allergy season. Jewish 74. Think about this nation's birthday, July 4th. Masonic 74, Freemasons. Also, May 23rd, recent news headline, Budweiser is changing their can from Budweiser to America from May 23rd until the end of the November 8th election. Why are they doing that, Recently, I talked about how the number 523 is the 99th prime number, and 99 is connected to the establishment of the Bavarian Illuminati May 1st, 1776. That's a potential reason. That's a potential reason why this date is so significant. From doing more research, I've realized this date's been significant in the past as well. But there's a reason that they're putting these numbers before us, and there's a reason they're giving us these riddles. I want people to understand, the powers that be are Freemasons. They are operating by a numerological code. I am trying to predict what they're going to do before they do it, That doesn't mean my predictions are always going to be right. But anyone with an open mind who is paying attention can see that the point of my work, to get people to understand how history is scripted, is most definitely true. You know, nobody died May 23rd, but major news headlines. And while Obama was in Vietnam, they brought back up the Freddie Gray case, which I told everybody last year they were going to bring back because it had all these parallels with Rodney King. And I showed in the video I did on May 23rd, the old man at the Baltimore riots in the week of Freddie Gray. He was wearing a Vietnam jacket, Vietnam hat. They talked about his Vietnam hero status. And then Obama's in Vietnam the same day they bring back Freddie Gray. This is all part of the scripting. Remember, Budweiser, in the video, the longer video I did on this, last year they merged for $106 billion with Miller. Prophecy equals 106. It came 223 days before May 23rd, Masonic 223. This is how they're doing it. This story was also up all day on May 23rd as a clue. The same type of programming I'm talking about. They post this at 4:11 the day before, but this story was up all day May 23rd. Again, assassin equals 4:11 in Jewish gematria. JFK shot from 411 Elm Street. It's about the Holocaust. Holocaust equals 114, the reflection. They have Governor Bill Weld talking about, how Trump, his policies are reminding him of the Holocaust. Governor Bill Weld equals 193, the 44th prime number. 44, the kill number. Obama, the 44th president, but only the 43rd person to be president. The next president will be the 44th person. It's because Grover Cleveland was 22 and 24. May 23rd, a date with 44 numerology, the 144th day of the year. While this story's up, Bill Weld, the 68th governor of Massachusetts, the last president to die, JFK, from Massachusetts. He was the 35th president. Catholic equals 35, the only Catholic president. He was also the 44th term president. He died on Sagittarius, or in the astrology sign Sagittarius, having gematria of 144, killed in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Freemason. His brother Bobby Kennedy would die in 68. Notice this guy was the 68th governor. Bobby Kennedy died at 1:44 in the morning, JFK's brother. Martin Luther King Jr. died that year on April 4th, 4-4. When you write out April 4th, it sums to 144. When you write out 44, it sums to 144, just like Sagittarius. 68. Caskets go 6 deep or 8 feet long. Donald John Trump equals 68. Barack Obama equals 68. Fateful year in politics. Those were June and April assassinations in 68. April 4th, June 6th, by the numbers. Something else I noticed, just doing more research, trying to see what's being foreshadowed. I found out that on February 22nd, Alex Jones predicted Trump would be assassinated. I wasn't aware of this, but what stands out about that February 22nd prediction is that May 23rd was the day that left 222 days remaining in the year. Think about 2/22 for February 22nd. As I talked about, the number 2 in numerology can represent dividing, and the Freemasons, they rule with 2 concepts: order through chaos, divide and conquer. 2, division. When you triple a digit in numerology, you triple the power. So May 23rd, it made sense in that regard. September 11th was the date that left 111 days in the year. The number 1 tripled. New York equals 111. 1 can represent coming together. There's now 1 World Trade Center there. 1 World Trade Center equals 93 in gematria, just like crucifix. It's on the 74th meridian, just like Jesus and cross. A lot of symbolism in that building. Symbolism by the numbers. The World Trade Centers lasted for 33 years. Jesus crucified on the cross at age 33. Again, Jesus and cross equals 74. New York City on the 74th meridian. So anyway, I find it really suspicious that Alex Jones did this February 22nd. Remember, Alex Jones is controlled opposition. Alex Jones in gematria equals 42. Born on February 11th, the 42nd day of the year. Supposedly he turned 42 this year, but he looks a decade older. fake identity, fraud. So anyway, Alex Jones gave a clue about Trump's potential fate on this date. This story got play February 23rd, 223, like Masonic and other outlets. It's interesting also that they emphasized they're going to kill Donald Trump. That phrase has gematria of 143, and May 23rd is typically the 143rd day of the year. Because this year was a leap year, it was the 144th. You know, some people think that by putting out this research, we're truly stopping the powers that be from achieving their plans. There's people who think that the powers that be truly are riddlers, and if their riddles get cracked, they reformulate their plan. Personally, it's hard for me to think that, truth channels on YouTube could have that much influence. There's millions of people in this world, and hardly anyone's paying attention. So anything's possible, but I do find it really interesting that they coded all this into this headline, this story from Alex Jones about Donald Trump assassination. I didn't even see this stuff before May 23rd, but now I just look at it and go, that's really fascinating. The New York Times apparently also made a joke that Donald Trump's campaign would end in an assassination. This was retweeted by Breitbart News, from the New York Times to Breitbart. They put that emphasis on the word jokes having gematria of 33, like false flag, a number that they love to code into their hoaxes. Special number to the Masons. Think about JFK shot on 11/22 in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Freemason. That Zapruder film is made by a 33rd degree Freemason too. Supposedly a man from Russia. Think about how Oswald went over to Russia. I'm pretty sure that JFK is okay, honestly. I don't think JFK really died. Watch that Zapruder film. That thing wasn't clear until the 90s, 30 years after the fact. A lot of time for all sorts of trickery. We live in a world of special effects. I forget what the things are called that cause eruptions of blood that they use in the movies. All sorts of things that they could have done with JFK. Notice how clean his suit stays the whole time. And supposedly he got a bullet through him before it hit him in the head, What's shown in the footage doesn't check out with the narrative, just like on September 11th, so many other things in this world. These people, they work through deception. The television screen, film, photo, they leave lots of room for manipulation, something that people need to wake up to. And just again, May 23rd, Obama was in Vietnam. It was the 144th day of the year. He's the 44th president. He ran on hope. Sadly, every president who's died in office, major 44 connections, the word kill equals 44. He goes to Vietnam, lifts the embargo that was in place since 84. Vietnam's also home of the International Dialing Code of plus 84. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater on April 14th. 14/4 it can be written, a lot like 144. Again, Obama reopened this same theater at the beginning of his presidency from the land of Lincoln. He went to Ho Chi Minh City. That's where he gave his speech about lifting the embargo, 144. Did it 63 days after doing the same thing in Cuba. If you add up every number 1 through 63, it sums to 2016 like the year. Big news, United States going to communist nations and ending, weapon embargoes. Here's something else I noticed. I'm writing the book right now. When I was writing my chapter, Race War, I was going back over a lot of the major news headlines of injustices of police officers killing young, unarmed black youth. I was looking at the death of Sean Bell. I noticed that Sean Bell was born May 23rd, 1983 supposedly, and he was shot to death November 25th, 2006. That's a span of 187 days, the homicide code. This was a big story in New York. about police injustice. They shot this young man supposedly 42 times. It happened on a date with 42 numerology. NYC equals 42. Freemason equals 42. The most hateful word for black Americans equals 42. Obama reopened Ford's Theater on the 42nd day of the year, February 11th, 2009, a date that also had 42 numerology. Here's a shot right here from February 11th, 2009, the date Obama reopened Ford's Theater. Think about this. The theater had been closed from 1977 until 2009, 32 years. America equals 32. America established on a date with 32 numerology. Obama equals 32. When Lincoln was shot, he was supposedly watching a play, My American Cousin, and he was shot during Act 3, Scene 2. The play had a lot of parallels to himself. Actor, assassin, in a theater. The clues are all there. Barack Hussein Obama is an actor. That's not a real name. There's no Barack Hussein Obama. He's just the character that plays the 44th president. The same is true for Donald Trump and so many of these other media personalities. Should anything happen to Obama or Donald Trump on August 22nd, on a date close to it, before then or after, anytime between now and the election, just realize it's going to have been planned, it's going to have been executed by the numbers, and it's going to be all for the sake of the ongoing agenda. These assassinations, they do many different things to different people. Let's just talk about the assassination of JFK and what the common perception of that is. So many people say JFK was the last good president we had. And, because he was doing good things, he got killed. That's the way this world works. But what I am trying to get you to see is JFK didn't do shit. He was just another actor agent, another puppet going out and doing things by the numbers. When he went to Berlin and gave that speech, I am a Berliner, it was all by the numbers. He died shortly after. People say that was a controversial speech, one of his most interesting speeches. His speech about secret societies and stuff, that's just all part of the show. That's what he was supposed to do because it has left the legacy that it has. The powers that be are smart. All of their actions are about building the world around us and the way they want us, the people, to understand it. JFK, the name Kennedy, equals 33. Massachusetts equals 33. Dies in the middle of Dealey Plaza on 11/22 by the numbers. His brother Bobby Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, equals 156. He's shot on the 156th day of the year. When you write out the word 33, it sums to 156. The number 911 is the 156th prime number. Everybody in the Kennedy family has died by the number 33. The ski accident, the drug overdose, the plane crashes, all of it. We live in a Masonic agenda. We get actor agents to give us these different ideas and concepts and pervert the way we understand the truth of this world. As far as I can tell, it's just like the Wizard of Oz. Oz equals 41. USA equals 41. 41 the 13th prime. The nation began with 13 colonies. In the Wizard of Oz, what do they find out? It's a man behind a curtain with a smoke machine and a screen and a loudspeaker trying to spook everybody, trying to scare them constantly. And that's what it all comes back down to. At the same time, we have to ask ourselves, how long can this agenda go on for? It seems that the powers that be are leading us to a cliff, an edge. And I don't want to find that cliff or edge. So my work is about waking people up, having them recognize what they live in. See things for what they truly are. Stop being duped by the liars. I was a lot younger in 2008, and I was telling everybody about what a fraud Obama was. I was describing him as the Trojan horse. The person that had deceived everyone and was sneaking in just to kill their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations. So many people got so enthused about Obama in 2008. They couldn't see what a fraud he was, even though it was clear as day. The only way to not see what a fraud Obama was to have this over your eyes. The wool. The wool. If you voted for Obama, you were a sheep. And that's okay. You don't have to be a sheep anymore. You can take the wool off. My problem is with the people who want to keep being a sheep. In 2008, Obama, for months, spoke out against the most important issue of the day: immunity for the telecom companies that had been spying on us and collecting our information. There was a major piece of legislation. The legislation was, if it passed, that all these companies that did all this illegal data mining, collecting, they'd be immune from prosecution. These major companies that committed federal crimes 1,000,000 times over. Obama was saying we couldn't give them immunity, but when it came time to vote, how did he vote? He voted for immunity. That was when he was running for president. All of his supporters, I would tell them all about this. And you know what they'd all say? I never heard that. I didn't know that. All Obama's supporters knew was bullshit. They didn't know a single fucking thing about the truth about this guy's campaign, his political record. All they knew was hype and bullshit. And they were riding it. And that's what this whole world is. It's not just Obama supporters. That's what's going on in this world. People just following bullshit all the time. They don't know a fucking thing about anything. Believe all these lies. Dismiss all the truth. That's what needs to end. Until that ends, these people in power, they're going to continue to run the show. The day people see things for what they are, that this is the man behind the curtain, that's the day we'll overtake them. I don't think it's as hard as most people imagine. It just needs more people, more cooperation, more awake minds. All right, truth seekers, until next time. Encore. I was just uploading the video, and then I caught another news story in the headlines today that factors into what we're talking about. Let me share this with you. A lot of interesting parallels here. If you've never heard of the Goldsboro incident in North Carolina from 1961, we're going to talk about that. But anyhow, today, May 26th, 2016, supposedly 2 Navy fighter planes collided off the coast of North Carolina. The pilots are okay. They were picked up by a fishing crew, the story says. This story, I have no doubt, is directly connected to a bullshit story from last year, July 7th, 2015. That story was exactly 325 days ago. We're talking about this date, May 23rd, the coding of these numbers, 523. On July 7th, 2015, it is said that a Cessna crashed into a military F-16. How do I know the story was bullshit? Everybody who saw this story knows it's bullshit. This was an example of how the media laughs at us as they report. I will link this post. You can click the link to CNN. You can watch the CNN news coverage of this still today. You can see the witness from this trailer park who says she saw the plane crash in the sky and she saw the debris come down and strike the trailer. Imagine this. Imagine 2 planes hit and a giant ball of metal comes flying down at a trailer and it just gently rests against that trailer when it collides. That's what the mainstream media would have you believe in this story. Look at it. I mean, the grill's just fine. No damage to the trailer. The trailer would probably be knocked over on its side with a huge hole in it. But this is what I mean. This is the kind of reporting we get in this media. It is a joke. It is part of ongoing riddles. It is part of a narrative. Today's headline, I think, is directly connected to it. When Donald Trump recently won the South Carolina primary, they said he won with 32.5%, kind of like May 23rd backwards, like the span of days, 325. We're talking about North Carolina, South Carolina, the Carolinas. They made the point that he won 44 counties with 32.5%. And where he won, South Carolina, their birthday is May 23rd, 1788. Emphasis on 88. Trump equals 88. We're talking about how it's 88 days from today until August 22nd, the next big day we're looking at. Show you what's fishy about today's reporting on this incident. Today's numerology, May 26, 2016, 67, North Carolina equals 67. They said the planes that crashed are called Super Hornets, having gematria of 61. That's the year of the Goldsboro incident in North Carolina. This plane wreck off the shore of North Carolina. Obama born in 61. JFK, the last president to be assassinated, president then. The Navy spokesperson for this story is Mark Rockwell Pate. Sounds like Mark Rockwell paid, perhaps paid to lie about bullshit. Gematria of 67, just like the date, just like North Carolina. Routine for these coded stories, something we talk about often. How the characters giving the information in the story sync up with the other details, the date, the location, again and again. They said the specific type of jet is a Jayhawk, gematria of 25. They say it crashed 25 miles off of Oregon Inlet. Oregon, that word with 74 gematria, Masonic 74, Jewish 74, 7-4 birthday in the nation. Only one state with a 74 gematria, the 33rd, Oregon. Jesus and cross equals 74. Jesus on the cross at 33, only the 33rd state, Oregon. Think about it. Today's date numerology also sums to 47. They said that these jets were part of Squadron 211. 211 is the 47th prime number. You know, Truth Seeker, I should let you know, sometimes these numbers really can naturally occur. I've explained in my earliest videos how 47 is attracted to me like a magnet. When I first moved up to Seattle, my apartment number really was 211. Seattle on the 47th parallel. And I didn't know a thing about numerology, prime numbers, scripting by the numbers. Sometimes things naturally can occur. I do want to acknowledge that. People ask that question. I got to acknowledge it. I get asked it so much. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There is something naturally occurring to these numbers too. That said, I think the Masons, they know about this. This is old world knowledge, and I think they contrive it into their stories, manufacturing it. The planes were called the Fighting Checkmates, gematria of 96, like Freemason. Also gematria connecting to New York City. New York City equals 168. When I think of the Goldsboro incident, where a nuke nearly detonated in the United States, supposedly in 61, I think of New York because of ground zero. The definition of ground zero was always where a nuclear bomb or atomic explosion occurs, until September 11th, when a second definition got added on, the site of where September 11th happened. Think about how those buildings turned to dust in the air. Think about how the 93 World Trade Center bombing blew down into the ground, and for many months after, they did a lot of work under the towers. They ended up spending billions of dollars on a bunker project, supposedly underneath. September 11th, 2001, the buildings come down like perfect demolition, also turning to dust. The buildings truly did mostly disappear. Where did they go? 110-story buildings fall to the ground. They should be all over the place. So anyway, that was that. Two bogus stories in the Carolinas, South and North, 325 days apart. The Donald winning with 32.5% in a place with a May 23rd birthday. The Goldsboro incident, very interesting in itself. Goldsboro equals 44 like military, also 107 the big way like military. It happened on a date with 86 numerology. Goldsboro incident, which is called, has gematria of 86. The word symbol equals 86. Triangle 86. Pyramid equals 86. Hiroshima bombing 8/6, August 6th. Think of The Dark Knight Rises if you've seen it. The football stadium explodes. Only one player survives, number 86, who was the real-life football player Hines Ward for the Steelers, who wore 86 and finished his career with 86 touchdowns. Scripted news, scripted sports, by the numbers, run by the same gangs. So something else strange. When I did my very first blog post, you're looking at it. This is it. October 24th, 2013. I didn't understand numerology or gematria yet. My work wasn't about that. This blog post, I wrote about how there's all this predictive programming throughout the years for devastation coming to the Carolinas. From the Goldsboro incident, where a nuclear bomb was dropped by a bomber accidentally and nearly detonated January 24th, 61, to the movie Special Bulletin, where it's about a nuclear bomb going off in Charleston Harbor. If you've never seen the movie, you can watch it full on YouTube. It's from the 80s. Special Bulletin. It's told as if you're watching the nightly news. It's about a terrorist threat outside of Charleston Harbor, and the nuke ends up going off, destroying the city. That movie came out on a date with 106 numerology, like the word prophecy. In more recent history, there's been a lot of popular fiction about devastation to the Carolinas. There's a book about a EMP strike in the Carolinas, blacking out the region. Newt Gingrich has the foreword on that book. You know, there was the NBC show about the blackout in the Carolinas. There's just been a lot of Carolina predictive programming for devastation. And the Carolinas were very important in the American Revolution. Historical significance. And it seems the way the numbers line up, now knowing this extra layer of information, they point at the Carolinas too. And again, for another example of how the numbers can naturally occur, it seems really strange to me that I just got all this ambition to write this post this day. I happen to have written this post on a date with 67 numerology. North Carolina equals 67. And I didn't know even how to get a date numerology then. So I didn't mean it. But somehow numbers really are working naturally through us. And I think if you go back and you examine the numbers in your own life, you'll see that you've had these synchronicities probably with many of the people who you have your most important relationships. So there is a natural flow to these numbers. That said, it seems that the powers that be are very much purposefully manipulating them, taking advantage, of the natural cycles of this world, perhaps. So that pretty much sums it up, Truth Seeker. Till next time. I'm the worst truth seeker. One last point. From today until August 22nd, where we began, the next date to look out for, that's also a span of 2 months and 27 days. In the book I'm working on, this is another number that factors in a major way into political assassinations. The Ronald Reagan assassination attempt took place at 2:27 local time in the afternoon. Remember, 22 divided by 7 gives you the number for pi, having to do with cycles and circles. If you write out 22 divided by 7 in gematria, it sums to 314, a lot like the approximation of pi, 3.14. 2 months and 27 days from today until August 22nd, the date that syncs up with the nation, syncs up with death. Also 88 like Trump. Ronald Reagan. That assassination attempt supposedly took place at the Hilton, a location with 33 gematria. Ronald Reagan, previously the 33rd governor. The attempt came on March 30th. What's 3 plus 30? The same thing as 11 plus 22. All right. Until next time. The show must go on for just a moment longer. U.S. nuke program runs on floppies. Top story today as well. Today they are just giving us the headlines. They're trying to clue us into reality. We were just talking about the Goldsboro program, the nuclear bomb that didn't go off, a miracle. I should mention that the word miracle in gematria equals 61, just like the year it happened. Said to be a miracle that a nuclear detonation didn't occur on U.S. soil. In gematria, nuclear equals 74, just like weapon, just like energy, just like Masonic. Lots of Masonic coding into the Manhattan Project. Got a big thing on that in my book. What else stands out is the mention of floppy disks and floppies. Floppy disks has gematria 53, floppies 44 and 53. 53 is the 16th prime. This news story is coming out in 2016. Most computers these days don't even have disk drives. Floppy disk is before disk drive, Most computers today don't even have a CD-ROM, it's just everything's digital. Here we're talking about floppy disks, supposedly that our military still needs in case they need to shoot off a nuke. Which to me is a cluing in to just how much bullshit programming we're under. I was talking about the Wizard of Oz and fear-mongering earlier. I really think that's what nuclear weapons are. I think the explosions we've seen on screens are deliberate manipulations meant to scare us. Think about all the people who lived in fear during the Cold War. I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest, the neighborhood I grew up in, just like a lot of neighborhoods around. During that time when the homes were built, they had bomb shelters put in the backyard showing just how fearful people were. They had bomb shelters on their property. Anyhow, floppies, this word that they use, Gematria 44, it also corresponds with nuclear war. And nuclear war is a scary concept in our mind. But is it even real? I know that our military, our government, they have very advanced weapons and capability, but do they have nuclear weapons? Or are they trying to clue us in to what a joke it all is with a story such as this? How could something so important be so outdated? You know what I mean? The government would probably say, well, that just goes to show we don't really want to use them. But at the same time, they supposedly invested all this money, this research, this know-how into making them. There's something going on there. But again, I really think what we've been told is for the purpose of fear-mongering. That weapons program, most of it was done underground. Again, we were talking about how the World Trade Centers were decimated into dust. Maybe the weapons have that kind of capability to turn a building into dust, which is, that's a scary thing. But maybe not as scary as what they've presented to us. Here's supposedly one of the floppies it takes for them to launch off a nuclear missile, Haven't seen one of those since I was itty-bitty. But this is what it is, Truth Seeker, Bullshit story after bullshit story. We in the mainstream, we are kept in the dark. All we know are lies and disinformation for the most part. That's what people need to wake up to.